In the snowy suburbs of Canton, Massachusetts, a simple night out turned into a complex death investigation that would rock an entire community. A respected police officer, JohnOKeefe, found dead in the cold. A woman, Karen Redd, accused of murder, and now possibly of exposing something even bigger than anyone imagined. Was it a tragic accident or a cover-up involving some of Boston's elite? This is the recent update on the murder case of a Boston police officer. JohnOKeefe. Welcome to True Crime Exposed. Subscribe for deep investigations into the stories that matter most. In the quiet town of Canton, Massachusetts, a tragic event unfolded that would capture national attention and ignite debates about justice, privilege, and the integrity of law enforcement. Karen Redd, who was accused of John's murder, is a 42-year-old financial analyst and adjunct professor at Bentley University. She's known for her intelligence and dedication. She had built a successful career in finance and was respected in her community. JohnOKeefe, on the other hand, was an 85-year-old man and 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department. He was not only a committed officer, but also a guardian to his niece and nephew after the untimely deaths of their parents. Colleagues described him as compassionate and deeply committed to his family and duty. JohnOKeefe and Karen Redd's paths crossed years after an initial acquaintance, rekindling a relationship during the COVID-19 pandemic. By early 2022, they had been dating for approximately 2 years. On the night of January 28, 2022, Karen and John joined friends at local establishments, first at C.F. McCarthy's, then at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. The evening was filled with camaraderie and drinks as they socialized with fellow officers and friends. As the night progressed, an invitation was extended to continue the gathering at the home of Brian Albert, a fellow Boston police officer. Karen drove John to the residence, but what transpired next remains a matter of intense scrutiny and legal debate. In the early hours of January 29, 2022, amidst a severe snowstorm, JohnOKeefe was found unresponsive in a snowbank outside Albert's home. Karen, accompanied by friends, discovered him and immediately called 911. Despite efforts to revive him, John was pronounced dead at the hospital. The autopsy revealed blunt force trauma to the head and signs of hypothermia. However, the manner of death was left undetermined, fueling speculation and divergent theories about the events leading to his demise. In the immediate aftermath of JohnOKeefe's tragic death, attention swiftly turned to Karen Redd. On February 2, 2022, she was arrested and charged with manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide, while operating under the influence and leaving the scene of a collision causing death. She pleaded not guilty and was released on bail. Prosecutors alleged that after a night of drinking, Redd dropped O'Keefe off at the home of fellow officer Brian Albert and, during a three-point turn, struck him with her SUV, leaving him in the snow where he succumbed to his injuries. However, from the outset, inconsistencies began to emerge. Redd, who had called 911 upon discovering O'Keefe's body, insisted she didn't know how he ended up outside. 11 witnesses reported hearing her express confusion and distress, repeatedly asking, "Could I have hit him?" The defense argued that O'Keefe's injuries were inconsistent with being struck by a vehicle, suggesting instead that he was attacked inside the house and his body was later moved outside. They pointed to evidence such as O'Keefe's Apple Health data, which indicated he had climbed stairs after arriving at the residence, implying he had entered the home. Further complicating matters, the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor, was later dismissed from the case after it was revealed he had sent derogatory texts about Redd, referring to her in misogynistic terms and expressing a desire to see her convicted. These developments cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative and suggested potential investigative bias. As the case progressed, the question remained, was Karen Redd responsible for JohnOKeefe's death, or was she being framed to protect others? As the investigation into JohnOKeefe's death unfolded, the prosecution presented forensic evidence they believed linked Karen Redd to the crime. Central to their case was the discovery of broken taillight fragments near O'Keefe's body, which they claimed matched the damaged taillight on Redd's Lexus SUV. Forensic scientists testified that these fragments were consistent with Redd's vehicle, and microscopic pieces of red and clear plastic were reportedly found on O'Keefe's clothing. However, the defense challenged the integrity of this evidence. They argued that the taillight damage could have occurred when Red backed into O'Keefe's car earlier that morning while searching for him, not during a fatal collision. Furthermore, they questioned the chain of custody and the timing of the evidence collection, suggesting the possibility of evidence tampering. Adding to the controversy, the defense highlighted the lack of direct eyewitnesses or clear video footage capturing the alleged incident. Witness timelines were inconsistent, and some testimonies contradict each other. For instance, while some witnesses claim Reed expressed guilt by saying, "I hit him," others testified she was distraught and questioning, repeatedly asking, "Did I hit him?" or "Could I have hit him?" The defense also introduced a theory that O'Keefe was attacked inside the house at 34 Fairview Road and later placed outside. They pointed to injuries on O'Keefe's arms, suggesting he may have been bitten by a dog, and noted that Brian Albert, the homeowner, had a German Shepherd that was later removed from the home. Further complicating the case were revelations about the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor. Text messages he sent during the investigation contained derogatory remarks about Red, referring to her in unprofessional terms and expressing a desire to see her convicted. These messages raised concerns about potential bias and the objectivity of the investigation. Also, these discrepancies and allegations cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative and suggested potential investigative bias. As the case progressed, the question remained, was Karen Red responsible for JohnOKeefe's death, or was she being framed to protect others? By mid-2023, the case against Karen Reed took an explosive turn. Her defense team began to allege that a cover-up was orchestrated by members of the Canton Police Department and individuals connected to the Boston Police Department to protect those who were present at Brian Albert's home, the location where JohnOKeefe's body was discovered. Notably, several individuals at the gathering had ties to law enforcement, including Brian Albert himself, a retired Boston police officer. The defense's allegations were multifaceted. 1. Crime scene management. The crime scene was allegedly not properly secured. First responders reportedly failed to photograph O'Keefe at the location where he was found before moving him to the ambulance. Additionally, interviews of critical witnesses were not conducted promptly, and some were not recorded. 2. Evidence handling. Key forensic evidence, such as cell phone data and surveillance footage, was mishandled or ignored. For instance, the Canton Police Department did not turn over video footage of Reed's SUV while it was housed at their facility from January 29th through February 2nd, 2022. 3. Witness testimonies. Testimonies from individuals present at the Albert residence reportedly shifted over time, raising concerns about their reliability. The defense also highlighted that Brian Albert and his wife sold their home 3 months after the incident, which they argued was suspicious. Further fueling the defense's claims were revelations about the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor. Text messages he sent during the investigation contained derogatory remarks about Red, referring to her in unprofessional terms and expressing a desire to see her convicted. These messages raised concerns about potential bias and the objectivity of the investigation. Public reaction to these allegations was swift and intense. Supporters of Red organized demonstrations across Massachusetts and beyond, rallying under the banner of Free Karen Reed. They argued that Red was being scapegoated to protect individuals with connections to law enforcement. These protests highlighted broader concerns about transparency, accountability, and the integrity of the justice system in small-town America. After weeks of intense testimony, forensic debates, and emotional appeals, the first trial of Karen Red concluded in July 2024 with a hung jury. The jurors, unable to reach a unanimous decision, communicated their impasse to Judge Beverly Cannon, leading her to declare a mistrial. Reports indicate that while the jury was deadlocked on the manslaughter charge, they had reached unanimous decisions on the other charges, though these were not officially recorded in court. In the aftermath, the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office announced plans to retry Red on all charges, including second-degree murder. This decision was met with legal challenges from Red's defense team, who argued that retrying her on charges the jury had allegedly acquitted her of would violate double jeopardy protections. Despite these arguments, higher courts allowed the retrial to proceed. The retrial commenced in April 2025, with jury selection beginning on April 1st. Opening statements were scheduled for April 22nd. The prosecution team saw the addition of Hank Brennan, a seasoned attorney known for his role in the Whitey Bulger case. The defense also expanded, bringing in new attorneys and support staff to bolster their case. As the retrial unfolds, the case continues to captivate public attention, raising critical questions about the intersection of justice, power, and community trust. And one thing is clear, this case is no longer just about one tragic night. It's about systemic failures, loyalty versus law, and whether justice can ever be truly impartial when power and influence are at stake. We'll be following every major update right here on True Crime Exposed. Subscribe now and stay tuned, because sometimes the truth is buried deeper than anyone wants to admit.